had. People with Professor Neil's lab had this quiz. Professor Russell's lab had this quiz. And we have some quiz three for Professor Neil and Professor Russell as well. And he also sent us some free response questions to practice. So we're going to go over this today. If any of you guys have anything in particular you want me to cover, feel free to open your mic or send it in the chat. Either William or I will try our best to cover whichever questions you guys have. If you don't, we'll get started. So we're gonna start with the quiz 2 of Professor Neil's lab. Give me 1 second. Let me take a, actually let's do like this. Take a screenshot of this. Copy that. Come here, paste it. Do the same thing for the table. Copy. Paste. Okay. Cool. So this was the quiz 3 from actually quiz 2 with Professor Neil's lab. And the question asked, by the way, I'm not particularly looking at the chat. So William, if you see something I should look into, just feel free to open your mic and tell me. Okay, so the question says, the following method is supposed to return the sum of ASCII values of the characters in a string if it doesn't work as intended. And they gave us some code and they want us to fill out whatever this function will return if we pass in high as an input. So a couple things. The way I'll cover these questions is I'll try to go as much details as possible. And I'll cover some things that might come on hand. If I say something that is not covered in class, just I don't know what to say because I'm not in the class, so I don't know how Professor Steinberg teaches stuff. But if something doesn't feel right, if something feels confusing, just feel free to open your mic and say or type it in the chat. So the first, this is the same format as you guys have seen in CSCI 111 with when we covered functions. We have a function title line. We have the name here, and we have some inputs or arguments here, and we have the return type here. Now, for Java, we have some other stuff. One thing is called public, another is static. So public is basically like access identifier. In hindsight, it basically means, so you will learn object-oriented programming in this course. So you'll learn what object is, what classes is, if not later in this course. So in Java, when you have a very big, large file, you will have multiple files, and multiple files can include multiple classes. And this public basically tells you that this function, sumchars, sumchars, can be accessed outside this class. Meaning if I am in a different file than wherever this function is defined, I can access the sumchars by importing it because it's a public. If it was a private, for instance, you could not do that because private is only for this individual class only. There's this other term called protected, but I'm not sure if you'll need to know this, but just know that this is like access identifier. And the static term is a term for so in Java, when you write the main function, you write public static void main because main function doesn't require you to declare a class. Basically, static tells you that you don't need to declare a object to call this function. If you don't have it, you have to declare that. And then we have this word, which is basically the return type of this function. So this function should return an integer type, and you guys already know what integer is from CS111. This is the name of the function, and this is the input or arguments, and we're only getting one argument, which is of type string. Also, one thing to notice that this string has a S capital, and when you see a type with a capital S, a capital first character, that basically tells you it's an object, not a primitive. What a primitive object means is you have int, char, maybe, I don't know, float or double, I don't know which one Java has. All of these are primitives. And we have like strings, which is a object or class. So the difference between primitives and objects is basically, you see how we did, how can I say? Okay, it doesn't show in this example, but when you need to compare two primitives, you use something like double equal or, less than or greater than sign. But when you compare two objects, you cannot do double equal. You have to use something that Java provides, which is dot equals method. And you'll see what I mean in later questions. So let's just focus on this one for now. So we have a string word and we have an integer sum, which is also returned at the end. And we run a for loop and we do something inside the for loop, right? And the question is supposed to do what? Supposed to have the sum of all ASCII values. Okay. So inside the for loop, we first initialize int I equal to 1. Let me do you a favor. Let me do something here. Remove that. Because I'll keep track of the I value in this part. So we initialized I equal to 1, right? And this one says as long as I is less than word.length, we will continue doing what's inside the for loop. And after every iteration, we update I plus plus, which is basically the same thing as I plus equals 1. So now what do I do inside? So first of all, we have to check if this condition satisfies. When we pass in hi, this word.length will return 2 because hi has a size of length of 2. And is 1 less than 2? It is true. So we will go inside. And what we do inside is we add or accumulate sum with word.char@i. So this char add function, char capital ANT, it basically grabs the character in this index, in this I index. So right now my I is 1, right? And my string is hi. So everybody knows here arrays starts with index 0. Similarly, strings start with index 0. So this is my index 0 and this is my index 1. So when I do word.char@i, we're saying word.char@1, which is basically this character. And when we do sum plus equals a character, it basically goes to the ASCII table and it finds the ASCII value of small I, which is 105. So initially sum was 0, right? Because we initialized with 0, and now we updated sum to be 105. And that's it inside the for loop. So what next step, which is basically I plus plus, and I plus plus updates the I to be now 2 because it was 1, now added to 2. And now we do the same check, which is this condition true? Which is saying is 2 less than 2, which is not true in our case because 2 is actually equal to 2, is not less than true. So since this condition is not true, so we don't go inside the for loop and we break out of the for loop and we go to the next line. And the next line basically returns the sum, and our sum currently stores the value 105. That means it should print out 105. Obviously, this is not what the question asked because it's supposed to return the sum of all the ASCII all the characters, and you see that we started with the second character because this was initialized to 1. Instead, if we initialize with 0, then we will count the age, which will add age is what? Age is 104, which will add 104 to 105 and we'll get 209 as an answer. So in order to fix that, all you gotta do is change the 1 to be a 0, and that's your answer if you want the correct approach of how to add every ASCII values of every character. Any questions so far? Okay, so good question. If it will work, I is less than equal to word.length. Okay, so if I do that, you tell me what happens. It is true that 2 is now less than equal to 2. Then we will go inside the for loop. And at this part, we're trying to get word dot char at 2. Now, does word has a second index? It does not, right? Because second index is null. So what will happen is this part, the box I am trying to highlight, will give you an error. So you either have to catch the exception or your program will crash. Does that answer your question, Jason? Okay, cool. So that's how you do the quiz of Professor, I believe it was Professor Neil. Yeah. So now I'll go to the next question, which is quiz 2 with Professor Russell's lab. Give me a second. Let me take the screenshots. Um, Also, oh, by the way, I'm really sorry. Oh, thank God, William started the recording because I was worried we didn't start the recording, but okay, fair enough. Um, yeah, so we are recording this whole thing and we will upload this in YouTube after the session ends as soon as possible, and we will get the link if you want to rewatch it or share with friends. Let me go here. Actually, we use the same ASCII table, so I can reuse this one. Okay. Okay, so this question says this method is supposed to return the number of small e characters in a string. It does not work as intended. And given this string as an input, what's the output? So we do the same thing. Obviously, the title line is the same as the other one. We start with variable count. So I will keep track of count on the side, initialize with 0. Now we go inside the for loop and we do something inside the for loop, and at the end we return the count. So inside the for loop, now we see that we start with 0. That's good because everything starts with 0, string or array or anything in general with comp sci. And then this function also makes sense because of the same reason as the other one, which is if it's equal, then we go out of bound because that index does not exist in the string. And we die plus plus. So first I is starting with 0, and this part says is 0 less than word.length. And right now my word.length is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my word.length is 8. So this question is, this part is asking is 0 less than 8, which is true. So we will go inside. And the inside part says if word.char at I equal 65. Okay, so a couple things. So this is the same function char at as the previous question, which will access this index of this string. Right now, our word is this part because word was passed in the in the argument, and we're trying to access the char at 0 because I is 0. So we're accessing basically this character, the capital A. So now we're asking basically is capital A equal 65. Obviously, in bird's eye view, you can say it's not because one is a character, other one is an integer. It doesn't even make sense to compare them. But since it's a character, what Java does internally is basically converts the character to its ASCII value, which is in our case, which is in our case 65 because A is 65. So this will convert to this one because we're converting to ASCII. And now this is true because 65 is equal to 65. So now we'll go inside the if statement, which is basically this line, which updates the count. Now we're going to update the count equal to 1. You see how we updated count equal to 1 when the character was a capital A, but the question asked we should update the count when the character is small e. So now we can see that that's where it doesn't work. Like why shouldn't work is because of that reason. Well, let's just continue with the program. So now we'll go to the next iteration. Now we update the I equal to 1 because I plus plus here. And then we do the same condition, which is 1 less than 8, which is true. So if we go inside, now we go to the if statement, which says word dot char at 1, which is basically this character, the small c I'm highlighting. And the small c's ASCII value is 99, which is definitely not equal to 65, so we will not update the count here. Then after this statement, there's nothing else, so we go to the next iteration. So update the I equal to 2. The same condition is 2 less than 8, which is true. Go inside the if statement. If statement saying is var dot char add 2, which is basically the small e I'm trying to highlight here. Equal 65, and the small e's ASCII value is 101, which is definitely not equal to 65. So we will not do anything. And you can make the same argument that any one of the other characters will not update the count because none of them are the capital A. And I know that the capital A's value is 65, so nothing else can be 65. So we can do the same thing over and over, but it doesn't make sense for us to waste time on there. So it will go from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and then 6 to 7. And when it's 8, we will check the condition. Is 8 less than 8? It is not. So that's where I break out of the for loop and I go to the next line. And the next line basically returns whatever the count is. And I know the count will be equal to 1 because there's only one capital A which has the value of 65 because we're only checking the value of 65. So this will print out 1 here. Obviously, if you want the actual answer, you should change the 65 to small e's ASCII value, which is 101. So I'll change this one to 101, and that will get you the what the question was asking, which is counting the number of small e's. Any questions so far? Okay, if there is no question, I will move forward to the next quiz. Okay, I don't see any question in the chat either. Okay, so now the next quiz is quiz 3 with Professor Neil. Let me take this. Okay, so these are like output or code tracking type of question, which is basically you need to figure out what's going on in every step and print out the whole thing. So first we start with this, which is an array of type string. You see how the S is capital? That means it's not a primitive, it's an object. Doesn't really matter in this question, but just so you know. And the array has 4 elements. The first element, or the 0th index, is 0, the string 0, not the word 0. And then we have 1, and then we have 2, and then we have 3. These numbers I'm writing is basically the indexes. So basically array at 0 is the string 0. Okay, so and then we have this for loop. This is a different type of for loop. It's a for each loop. I think that's what they call it. But it's the same idea as the other for loops we saw previously. This for loop basically, I'll write down the equivalent in a bit. Give me a second. How should I do this? Because if I do something like for int I equals 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus a string word equal to array at I dot dot dot. If I do this, it's the same thing, is equivalent. Whoops, I'm not sure why they're not there. It's the same equivalent of the other for loop we just saw. This is like a shorthand of doing the 2 line into 1 line, which is like getting the element directly inside the for loop. So when I go the first time it run, it will grab this value 0. Second time it run, the word will grab the string ONE. The third time it will run, the word will grab the string TWO, so and so. So first time we are grabbing the zero, that string, and we're doing this part. Now try catch. Try catch is a way of grabbing exceptions. An exception is something like an error can happen in the code, and you don't. So if an error happens in the code, and if you don't catch the exception, your code won't run. It will crash. So in order for your code to run, you have to catch the exception, which is basically this type of exception in this case. There are multiple other exceptions I can show you later on. But there can be multiple exceptions, and if you don't catch the exceptions, your code will fail. So you have to catch that, and the way to catch it with the try catch block. So it basically says we're gonna try what's inside here. If it passes, that's all good. If it doesn't pass, then we're trying to catch this part here. Now, obviously, the type of exception has to match, because there are different type of exceptions, and if you catch something else, then what's going to happen is it will still fail. But in this case, it's not all that. It's just simply trying to print something, and if the index out of bound exception happens, then print something else, and we'll see how that happens. So first time, word has the value 0, and then we're trying to print word dot char at 3. And we know that strings start with index 0. So the first one is 0, second one is 1, third one is 2, and the fourth one is 3. So this part, char at 3, will grab this small o, and it will be the part of here. So we're going to print that. And also, I'm not sure if you guys know the difference between print and println. Print and println. This is the same as in 111 you have seen cout and cout endl, right? Endl basically goes to the next line in the output. It does the same thing as print line. Print line goes to the next line, but since there is no print line, just print, everything is gonna printed in the same line, and you will see how that looks like. So first we're gonna grab this small o because that's the char 3. So we're gonna print that, and then my cursor will stay here. Whatever is gonna printed next will be printed right over here. And since this part worked, so we don't catch that, we go to the next iteration. In the next iteration, my word will have O and E, because the next iteration will grab this value. And then we do the same thing. We go inside the try catch block, and we try to do this part. And this part is saying is word dot char at 3. And I know that O and E only has up to second index. So third one doesn't exist. So this part will not work. And that's where we go into the catch block, and we know that this is a index out of bound, because 3 is out of bound for this string. So it's the same type of exception. So we're gonna print this part. And this part prints this string WHOOPS with exclamation mark. And we're gonna print everything at this part, WHOOPS with the exclamation mark. And once it's done, it's the same thing as the other one. There's no print line, so my cursor will stay here, and whatever prints next will be starting from that position. Then we go to the next iteration, which is basically the string TWO or 2. And we do the same thing. We go inside the try catch block, and we'll try to find, does 2 have an index 3? It doesn't, for the same reason as 1 doesn't, because they are of size 3. So that means it will not run the try block. Then it will go to the catch block, and it will print whoops again. So I will print whoops on the same line, because it's not a print line, it's just print whoops. And we did this 2 times. And then the next time we're gonna go to the string 3, and we do the same thing. Now my 3 I know will have the index 3, because 3 has up to index 4, right? So my index 3 will grab this E, the first E. So when we do this part, word.char at 3, it will grab the first E, because that's on index 3, and it will print that part at this position, because that's where the cursor left from the last time. And since we ran the try this time, we don't do the catch. And that's our end of the program, because that's the last item on the string, and this for loop will be ending, and there's nothing else after the for loop, and that's my answer. Any questions so far? Also, whoever is joining late, feel free to do the attendance form. It will help us a lot more. If there is no question, I will move on to the next quiz. Okay. So the next quiz was with Professor Russell. It's the same try catch type of thing, but now this time we have a different kind of exception. Now we have arithmetic exception. Also, I was looking into all the exceptions Java has, and I found this gigs for gigs link, and it basically lists out a lot of common exceptions. We did arithmetic exception, we have input output exception, we have null pointer exception, runtime exception, illegal argument exception. There may be more, I don't even know. These are like the common ones, and they also gave some examples of what's the type of exception can look like. Null pointer, string index out of bound. It's the same thing as the one we did last question. So now going to this part, it's the same for loop, which is the for each loop. I think that's what they call. Instead of doing indexing, and then we do num, and num grabs the item directly. So the first time it will run, the num will have the value 0, because that's the first item in the array, right? And then we do the try block. If try block fails, we'll do the catch block. We only do one or the other. We don't do both of them, by the way. Okay, so try block says try to do 5 divided by num. So now if I do this part, 5 divided by num, we know that we can't divide a number by 0, right? So that's what the arithmetic exception is. It can't divide by 0, so this part will not run. So we'll go to the catch block, and we'll do the catch blocks inside part, which basically prints out whoops. And that is because it's an arithmetic exception, and we're catching arithmetic exception in the catch block. So we do whoops. Whoops, and it's still a print, not a print line. So the next time we're gonna start from this position, not from this position. So next iteration, the num will have the value 1, because that is the next item in the array. And then we'll do the same thing, right? We go inside the try block. We try to do this part, which is saying 5 divided by 1. If it runs, we're good. If it not run, then we do the catch block. And we know that 5 divided by 1 is good, because that will give you 5. Yeah, so that's good. And we know that the answer of this part will give you 5. So that's what we're going to print in the answer. Yeah, and then we go to the next iteration, which is this value 2. So now in num is storing 2. And now we do the same thing again. We go inside the try block, try to do this part, which is saying 5 divided by 2. Now, in math, we all know math, it will give us 2.5, right? But since they're both integer, and I know they're both integer because num, this variable, was declared an integer, and 5 by itself is an integer. And when we divide two integers, we always get another integer. We do not get like a double or floating points like 2.5. And the way they round is always they round down. So they will get rid of everything after the decimal point. They will get rid of it. And the answer will be rounding down to whatever the integer value was, which is 2. If we have, we'll see how 5 by 3 looks like. But for now, we are getting rid of the decimal points because they're integer division. Both are integers. So we're going to print 2. And since this one ran, we're not going to do the catch block because we only do one or the other. And we go to the next iteration. And next iteration, we are looking at num equal to 3. And now we're going to do the same thing, which is doing 5 divided by 3. And I'm not sure what 5 divided by 3 is. Let me Google this real quick. Okay, it's 1.66 or 1.67. So it is 1.67. And the same thing, because 5 is an integer, 3 is an integer, the answer should be an integer. So we're going to get rid of everything after the decimal point. And we're going to get 1. And since it ran, it will also print 1. We're not going to print two whoops because it was not an exception. Now, if you ask how can I keep the decimal points, you can do it in actually 3 ways. You can do it. One, you have to, if you guys know what casting is, or if your professor taught you in this class or 111, casting is basically you take a value and you change the format to another type. So if I have a value 5, I can do double 5. This will convert the 5 to a 5.0. And when you divide 5.0 by 3, this is not an integer division anymore because one of them is a double. And once I have a double divided by integer, the answer is a double. And that's where you can keep the decimal point 1.67. Same thing as other one. If you do 5 divided by 3.0, it's the same thing. As long as one of them is a double, you can keep the decimal point. Or if you have both decimal, 5.0 divided by 3.0, that will also work. At least one of them has to be double to keep the decimal value. If both are integers like this, you cannot keep the decimal value. And to convert the integer to decimal is by casting, which is, I'm not sure the syntax is either this, like double with parentheses and then 5, or this, which is double and then parentheses inside the 5. You can Google that up. What's the correct syntax for casting, typecasting? It will show you. And that's the end of the this question, because that's the last part of the array. And once the for loop ends, there's nothing else. So that is my answer. Any questions so far? Yeah. So yeah. What is $1 in match? Okay, so I'm not exactly sure how the negative number how to, like, what's the answer for that? Is it rounding down or going towards 0? Because in that case, you're right, it will go up if it's a negative number. I can actually real quick Google that. Does, whoops, integer division round go towards 0? Okay. So it's like depending on language, it differs, I guess. Okay, so in Java, well, Gemini is saying in Java we always cut the decimal points. Since we have negative 3.5, we cut the decimal point and we got -3. Okay, so well, it's the same thing because cutting the decimal points is the same thing as going towards 0 in this case. But regardless, that's how it works. I'm not sure what will happen. Well, I'm not sure if your professor will give you negative numbers. But just so you know, if we have negative -5 divided by 3. Instead of getting -1.67, you're gonna get -1. We are cutting the decimal out of it. That's it for this question. If you guys don't have any more question, I'll jump to the free response question. Yeah, William is right. Okay, so the reason I was confusing with this one or this one is because in Python, you do this way, but in Java or C++ you do this way, and I was confusing which one is which one. But in Java you do this format, not this one. The parentheses inside the type, not inside the number. So if there's no more question, I'll jump to the next part, which is, so these questions are from AP Comp Sci from 2024. So shouldn't be that hard. Let me see. So it's a lot of words actually. Copy that. And then copy that. Okay. Okay, so a lot of words. I'm not gonna waste time reading through all that because all I need to look at is the answer is on here. You basically need to fill up or write down the function. And what's gonna happen is in this part. So this part says write the method scramble word, which is the same method as here, which takes a given word and returns a string that contains a scrambled version of the word according to the following rules. Okay, so we are given this word, which is a type string, and we want to scramble the word by some rules, and the rules are the 3 bullet points. So let's see what the bullet points say. The bullet points say the scramble process begins in the first character. Okay, so we start begins at the first letter and we go from left to right. So basically going this direction, right? And then if two consecutive letters consist of an, so two consecutive letters consists of a capital A followed by a letter with that is not A, then they are gonna be swapped. I see. So what they're trying to say is, looking at this example, second one, or actually let's look at the first one because the first one is simpler. See, if I see a capital A, which is this part, and the next one is not a capital A, then these two are gonna get swapped. And that's how I get from TAN to TNA, because these two are swapped. And they are swapped because of this reason. And then once the letters are swapped, neither of those two positions can be involved. So that means like once I swapped the AN to NA, I cannot include this A as next swappable position. So the next swappable position can only start from this character onwards, like the next character onwards. So shouldn't it looks a bit complicated, but shouldn't be too bad. So the way we're gonna solve this, I mean, obviously there's multiple solutions, I'm pretty sure, and professor didn't give us any solution book, so I'll do it the way I think, and it makes more sense. But if you guys have a different solution for this, feel free to do it. I'm pretty sure there's like a million different solutions for this one. But the way I'm gonna do it, just looking at an example, like let's just do an example so we are the same page. Let's do TAN C A. Actually, let's do TANCP. So we are obviously going to start from the very beginning. Let me just write down the indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to start from the first index or the 0th index. And I'm going to put a pointer called I. So I represents the index I'm currently at, and we're currently looking at the value T. So now if the value at I is A, and I know how to do that with the char at I method, so this will give me the character. And if this character is a capital A, then I know there's a possible swappable positions, because if the next one is not an A, then we have to swap. So for this one, it's not an A, so we're gonna move to the next position. And now this condition is true, because now I'm looking at a capital A. And how you know how to do and, right? With the ampersand, right? I think the double ampersand actually. If the current character is capital A and the next character, and I know how to do the next character, right? Which is basically I plus 1. If I is at this position 1, I plus 1 is 2, which is the next position. And if the next position is not equal to, and this is how you check if it's not equal to A, that means we have to swap I and I plus 1, right? For example, in this case, I is pointing to A and I plus 1 is pointing to N. And we know that we have to swap those, and how do I know? Is by this condition. This condition will check if the current character is a capital A, and the next character, so this is the next character, and this is the current character, and the next character is not an A, then we have to swap the I and I plus 1. Now there is like multiple way you can do this swap thing. You can either do, I'm not sure if professor taught you string builder. String builder gives you very nice methods of swapping like characters. If you guys don't know string builder, you can do something like start from an empty string, right? And we're gonna append stuff. If this, so since the first character we did not swap, right? Because this condition was not true. So we're gonna append whatever it is. But if we have to swap, instead of appending I and then I plus 1, we're gonna append I plus 1 first and then I. Meaning, instead of appending A and then N, I'm gonna append N and then A. And that's how we know that they're gonna be swapped, because I changed the order of appending to the string. And that's how we can do this. I think that makes more sense as of now. So we're gonna do this way. We're gonna append, well, my handwriting is very not good today. Append I plus 1 and then append I. And this will append the next character first and then the current character. That way we're gonna get swappable values. And that's basically it. Once we're done with the swap thing, we have to change the position of I to this guy, right? Because remember when I told you that once they're swappable, like this condition tells you that once they're swapped, those cannot be involved in a future swap. So if we swapped this A, so let me do a different color. If I swapped this A and this N, I have to start from this C. And how can I go from here to here? Right now my I is at 1 and I want to jump to C. And the way you want to do it is by I plus equal 2. And that's how you can jump from 1 to 3. Because 1 plus equal 2 will give you 3. And that's basically it. So it looks a lot of steps, but once you break it down, it's not too bad. So all you got to figure out is finding this condition, which we know that if this condition is true, we have to swap. And how I'm gonna swap is by appending in the reverse order, like adding the I plus 1 first and then I. And once I'm done, I'm gonna do I plus equal 2, because that's how we're gonna jump from 1 to 3, right? Because if I do I plus equal 1, then we're gonna stuck at 2, which is not good for us. And we have some other case which can be taken care of later on, but that's the whole idea. So I will jump right into coding if nobody has any more question of what I'm doing right now.
I do have a couple of questions.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think for this, at the bottom you said I plus equals 2.
Yeah.
Uh, but if our for loop always goes plus equal I plus plus, then shouldn't we at the bottom of this particular if statement do I plus 1, like I plus plus, and then inside the for loop it'll do another one?
Okay, so yes, I know what you're trying to say, but I'm not going to use a for loop because I know that will happen in the for loop. I'm going to use a while loop here. And the while loop's condition will, and also we'll have another condition. We will see how that works out. But the for loop, so in for loop, if I go to previous questions, you're right. This part, where is this part? We're gonna add, we're gonna increase once, and if you do I plus equal 2, then we're gonna increase 3 times, which is not good. You can do two-way. If you want, if you have to use a for loop, you can ignore this part, and this is the valid for loop. If I do for int I equals 0, I less than 5, and this is a valid for loop. You don't have to uh, say what's going to happen after every iteration. If you do it like that, that's completely fine. No problem with that. But if you're not familiar with, getting like keeping things empty in the for loop, we can use while loop because they're the same thing, right? Instead
Yeah.
of figuring out the start and the end, we're gonna do a while loop here.
Okay. And I guess one more question, if you zoom
Yeah.
down to the bottom. Um, in the case that the last letter is an A, then we have to short circuit this somehow, right? Because otherwise it's going to go out of bounds.
Right, right. So if the last character is an A, then we know that this part will go out of bound. So we'll have another condition in front, making sure that I plus 1 never goes out of bound.
Okay.
Meaning I plus 1 always stays less than s dot. What is s or word actually? Word dot length. And this kind of stuff we can just add it along the way once our actual this is like kind of an algorithm question. Not an algorithm, but the problem solving question. Like once you know how to solve the problem, we can just add these stuffs after we are done with the main approach. So
Okay.
let me, since it's a lot of writing, I'm not gonna draw with my mouse. Um, so let's just start with the while loop I was talking about. Also, okay, let me change that. So we're gonna have a while loop that's gonna take care of everything, and we're gonna have some if condition, which is basically this very big condition, right? And now we're gonna have something before and after, right? So first, you have to initialize the pointer I was talking about all this time. Start from 0, right? And then we're gonna insert the while loop. I'm gonna say as long as I is less than, whoops, how do I not capital? Oh, there you go. Or dot length. As long as I does not, this is the same condition as you guys do in the for loop, which is like, you don't go equal because going equal goes out of bound. You go less than. If you have to go equal, you have to do -1 at the end, such that, it stays in the bound because we start from 0. The last character is length -1. So inside the for loop, we're going to have this very big if statement, which is if word dot char at I equal capital A and word dot char at I plus 1 not equal capital A. And obviously we'll have another condition, as you mentioned, which is making sure that it doesn't go out of bound. And the way we're gonna do that is by checking. So okay, so a couple things. You can do it in multiple ways. You can have it if con oh whoa. You can have an if condition up top saying if I plus 1 is word dot length LEGTH. You can do it like this, which is basically saying I'll only do the inside if condition if this condition is true, and this condition will take care of what you're trying to say earlier, which is I plus 1. If the last character is A, then I plus 1 is the next character, which doesn't exist. which should give me an error, and I can take care of that by this. But since it's there's just nested if condition, I can just add it in the same condition like that. And the reason I did it like this way is because in Java or any language in general, if multiple conditions are bound with a and one of them fails, it's not gonna do. I'm not sure why it's doing like that. If multiple conditions are bound with an and, like here we have this condition and that condition and that condition. If one of them fails, it's not gonna continue toward the rest of them. Like if this one fails, we know that the whole answer is false because what is false? And let's say the next two are true, right? What is this value? This value is always false because one of them is false. For and to be true, everything has to be true. And if this one is failing, we're not gonna even do this part because it doesn't really matter to us. And that's how Java works, or any language in general works. And that's how I'll do this. But also, if you, just to be safe, you can just put it outside the way we had it earlier. Um, Anyways, so this will take care of the condition I was talking about. If one of them is A and the next one is not an A, we'll do some swapping thing. And we also mentioned that we're not gonna swap, but we're gonna start with an empty string here, and we're gonna add things up. So I'll do this, I'll do the empty string over here. I'm gonna call it result. You can also do it with string builder. In fact, string builder is even more optimized, but for CSCI 212, you don't have to worry about optimization or runtime and big or complexity, all that. String, all you have to know that strings are immutable. So every time you add stuff, like you see how we added stuff and A, it's creating a new string. So the first string was T, the next string was TN, and the next string was TNA. It's creating a new string because strings are immutable, which is, you can argue that this is not optimal, this is not efficient, because why are we creating new string every time we're appending stuff? And uh, get around it is by using something called string builder, which is, instead of making a new string, we're gonna just add stuff as if it's like the same string, right? But for now, let's just worry about string. We don't need to introduce more stuff that we don't necessarily need for this course. And I'm gonna do something like result plus equal var dot char at I plus 1, this one first, and then result plus equals var dot char at I. And we also mentioned that we have to jump to 2 steps instead of 1, because because um because we can't include either one of those for next swappable position. So you have to jump twice. So now, obviously, if this condition is true, we do what we have to do, which is basically swapping or adding in a different order and updating the thing. And then that last part is, what if this condition is false, right? How do we take care of that? And we know that how did we take care of the first character T here, right? If when we saw this T here, we did not do anything. We just added the T as it is. And we updated the I was over here, we updated the I to the next character. That's all, right? And that's what I'm going to do. If this condition is not true, which is the else scenario, because if else, either we do the if part or we do the else part. If this condition is not true, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add the current character, which is char at I, because we just added T, right? And we update the I to plus equal 1. Okay, I'm not sure why it's capitalizing every time I don't want it to capitalize. Okay, there you go. This time we updated one because remember when we were at t, we only added the t and we moved on to the next one, not the second next one. And that should do it. That should add everything as we need. And at the end, once this while loop ends, which is basically this part, this it's getting a lot messy, but I will try to clean it up later on. We're gonna return my string, which is result. Okay, let me do some cleaning right now because I can't even read it. Okay. And then the function closes after returning, which is here. And that is my answer. Um, looks a lot more steps, but once you break it down to smaller chunks, it's not too bad. Just to reiterate, we just figured out when we swap, which is this long, very big if condition, in which are in our case, which is basically like this part, right? This part is basically the main part we care about, and this part is basically like an edge case. If I plus 1 is not inside the bound, how can I access I plus 1? Once this condition is true, we add in reverse order, and adding reverse order automatically swaps them. And we also update the value to plus equal 2 because of this condition we just talked about earlier. And if this condition is not true, we just treat it as nothing. So we just add the current character and update one time. And this entire part is wrapped with a while loop, which makes sure every character is counted. And then once the while loop ends, my result should have the swappable values as we needed. And that's where we return the result and we close the string. Any questions so far? Also, just to reiterate, this session is recorded, so if you need more time to understand, you can rewatch the recording. I'm pretty sure we'll try to upload this in YouTube as soon as possible. Not sure when, but before the exam, that's for sure. If there's no more question, I will jump to the next free response question, which is like a follow-up question of this one, and that one is actually easier than this one. Let me look at this one. Copy this. And copy this. So this is like the second part. The other one was part A. This is part B, and this is like a follow-up of the previous question, and it's basically reusing this function, scramble word, in this part. Just to see if I did not miss any question in the chat. Okay. So part B is saying write a method scramble or remove, which is this method over here, which replaces, okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So what they're trying to say is we have a list of string. So every, so this word list is a list, an array list in general, and each item here is a string. The first item is the string TAN. Second item is abracadabra. Second item is wow, so and so. And we're gonna use the function we created over here, like this function we created over here, the scramble word function, to scramble every one of them, right? Before I start this one, I want to make sure that, well, actually, I want to verify that it actually works. So I forgot to do that. Let me go here. I was playing around with this Java compiler I found online, and let me just write down the public static string scramble word. Okay, so this was our answer for that part, right? And let me test it real quick. Let me do instead of hello, scramble word. And um what were the strings? Okay, so we have DAN abracadabra. So let's do DAN. And then we had abracadabra. And we had wool and eggs. Okay, cool. Okay, I'm missing some semicolons because Java is same as C++, which will give a very big error if we miss a semicolon. And if I'm right, let's see what happens. Okay, so why there's a space? Not sure, but either way, the answers, if you look at this one and the answer from here, first one is DNA, as this one. Second one is bar cadabra, like this one. Third one is woe, which is this one. Fourth one is X, which is this one. And also can use like, one more, just why not? With a single character A. And if I run it, it's taking some time. Not sure why. Okay, maybe it got stuck in an infinite while loop. It should not take that long. Let's see if I remove everything and run it one more time. Yeah, it got stuck in infinite while loop. So something is wrong when the string is one character A. Let's see if we can figure this out. If I is less than equal to the length minus 1, which is true. If I plus 1, oh no, it got executed. Okay, so I was not wrong. It was just taking some time. But yeah, we saw that it got executed, and that's not sure why it's taking so long for this test case. Anyway, while it is running, let me go to this part, which is okay. We have it ready. Okay, there you go. So these are my answers, and this one was A because they also have A. Okay, so now that we know that works, we can jump to this question, part B, which is saying, so just to start again, we are using the string scramble word from before, SCARMB, scramble. We're using this function we created on part A in this part, and we're gonna use that function to convert each one of those, like each string on the word list. And if the scrambled word and the original word are the same, we're gonna remove it. That's where it says something. Okay, so and removes any words that are unchanged after scrambling. So after we scramble them, if they're unchanged, if they're the same string, we're gonna remove them. And if they're not the same, like for example, 10 becomes T and A, we are just gonna keep the scrambled version, not the original version. That's overall it. You can see that there is 5 values in the input, but there's only 3 values in the output because 2 of them was the same, scrambled and original. Like this wow was same, I believe, and eggs was same. That's why we did not keep wow and eggs. We only kept 10, abracadabra, and apple. So let's just jump right into it. Obviously, let me just uh, draw some idea of what I'm going to do. So I'll have some kind of for loop or a while loop, whichever prefers, to go through this list, word list. And inside the list, I will access each individual items, right? I can do it in 2 ways. I can do it in the, initializing int I equals 0, blah, blah, blah. Or I can do the modified version of for loop, like we saw in the one of the quiz questions, which is, getting the string values right away, like string w in blah, blah, blah. Either way, so we'll get the string and we're going to scramble them. So I will use the scrambled scrambled function we used earlier, or we made earlier. We're going to use that function and we're going to compare original equal scrambled, scrambled. We're going to compare this part. Now, if this part is equal, we're going to keep it, but we're only going to keep the scrambled version, not the original version. And if they're not equal, if it's this case, we're not going to keep them. We can remove them. Actually, we have to remove them because we're not. Also, by the way, for those who don't know what void function is, you guys should know what void function is because you guys passed 111. But void functions don't return anything. It basically does something inside the function. And since we're not returning a new list, that basically means we're modifying the original word list. So we have to remove them from the word list somehow. I can think of 2 ways to do this. One, actually making a new list, right? Like make a result list and populating this with DNA, then apple or papel and the other one. And once I make the new list, I will like copy this part and paste it in my word list, like put it in the word list. That's how word list can have the new result, not the original one. This is one way you can do it, or you can actually modify the values inside the word list. That will also work. That will also work. So either way, either one of those is doable. I prefer, since they want us to use the same list, I prefer not to create a new list, but creating a new list is not a big deal. So the way I can modify or change the original list is by this function. I think it's called set set. And this set function takes 2 parameters. The first parameter is the index. I'm going to call it idx for now. Second parameter is the value. So basically, whichever index I'm currently at, I'll put the value at that index. So meaning my word list index 0 had 10. So if I do something like word list dot set index 0, I set the value tna, it will replace the 10 with a tna value. And this set is a built-in Java method. So I prefer using that for now, because why not? And that's the whole idea, right? If they're not equal, we can remove them, or yeah, we can basically we can remove them. I think pretty sure we have a dot remove function in Java as well. This will remove if I give an index, it will remove the value at that index, and dot set will replace the value with the new value I give it to him. And that's the whole idea, right? So if there's no more question, I can jump to the coding portion, which is basically a for loop. I will do the actual, the one we're familiar with. For I actually, you know what? Let's say the while loop because we used the while loop for the other one. While since we're using while loop, we have to initialize a variable I before int I equals 0, and inside the while loop, I will use the I as long as I is less than word list dot length. Also, a good thing I just remembered, we can use dot length on a string, but since this part is not a string, this part is a list, right? This word list is a list. I have to use, well, actually, let me just clarify if we have dot size. Do we have dot size in, actually, yeah, dot length in Java array list. Okay, so yeah, I was right. So since it's a list, I cannot use dot length. I have to use dot size. That's just I don't know why they named it differently. You can ask the people who made the language Java. But for list, you have to use dot size because a list doesn't give you dot length. And this is my while loop. And inside, we're going to have the two conditions we talked about, which is, well, first I have to get the values. So I'll do something like string original equal to word list not. Also, in array, you guys are familiar with this index, right? Word list with a bracket 0. But for array list, you have to use dot get. Also, then again, I did not invent this, so don't blame me why it's this way. But that's how Java works. For a list, you have to use dot get to access the item. Not 0, but I, because that's where the index is. And then we're gonna use the scrambled function we created earlier. I'll put the name scrambled equal to a scrambled word of original. This part is basically saying whatever the string original is, we want to use the scrambled function or scrambled word function we created earlier over here. And that will make a new function, a new string, which will be stored in the variable scrambled. And then we can check if these two strings are equal or not, right? That's the whole idea. If original. Also, in the beginning of the session, we mentioned that objects cannot be used like this. Like I cannot do this because both are objects. How do I know they're objects? Because they're a string. Also, there is another identifier is the first character is capital. And for objects, you have to use something called dot equals. This will do the same check as I was doing with double equal sign. It will check if this scrambled function, scrambled string is equal to this original string. So if they're equal, we said we want to, whoops. Well, if they're equal, we want to remove them, right? So the way we want to remove them is by saying word list dot remove I. And this remove function is a built-in function from Java. And this takes the index we're currently at, which is the index I, and it will remove whatever value is inside that index. And also, if I remove a value, right? If I remove this value, that means apple is now moved to index 2 and eggs is now moved to index 3. So my whole list became size 5 to size 4 because last one doesn't exist. So you can argue that I don't have to update the index because if I remove this value, the apple automatically moved to my current index, right? Because I was here. That's where I removed it. And once I removed it, apple automatically moved to current index. So if I move the I to next index, we're gonna get into trouble because we have to take care of the apple itself. So I'm not gonna do I plus equal 1 or something like that in this position because elements moved automatically. That's why I did not do no I plus plus or something. And if they're not equal, I would do the else condition, or you can do the same thing as another if condition. Either one of those work. Um, Instead of checking equals, I'll put a not sign in front. This not sign will take care of if they're not equal. Then we do something else. And it's the same thing as if I do else. Because it can only be equal or not equal. There is no more other condition to happen. And if they're not equal, all you gotta do is use this set function we talked about. It will set the value at the index, meaning I will use word y capital word list dot set, and the current index is I, and the value I want is not the original string, but the scrambled string, right? Because in the result you can see that they were all the scrambled ones, and they also talked about in the description as well. And also for this one, I have to update it because it did not remove anything, or it did not modify anything. So I have to update the index or the I value. And that's totally it. I'm not returning anything because it's a void function, and we're only changing stuff inside. And the way we're changing it is by using the set function from Java's method. And we have to also make sure when to update the index, because removing automatically moves stuff. So I did not update the index, but set doesn't move stuff. It just sets a value. So I had to update the index here. And this will run until every element is taken care of, which is the word list size. And that should be it. Just to verify, we're gonna copy this and paste it in the compiler found online, and we will see if that actually works as expected. So I will have public static, what was the function name? Is scramble or remove? Scramble or remove string, not string, actually list of string. It was called what? Word list. Okay. Okay, it looks a bit messy. Okay. So this is the function we just created. This title line was given, and everything else is inside. Let me see if I missed anything. So this is over here, this is over here, and the while loop ends here. Okay, so we're good. So let me just test it real quick. I'll print something. Let me comment everything out. System dot out dot print line, and we're gonna use this function. And this function uses this function which we created over here. So you can see it's like a chain of functions that's being used. And we have to pass in some input, which is, how can I copy that? Let me see. Okay, there you go. So let me do something like this, and comma. Well, no, I can't do that actually. I have to make a list first. List. Oh, that's it. That's long code. I don't know how to initialize a list. How to initialize a list in Java with values. Mm, okay, there you go. And we're using these items. Whoever invented Java has to be punished for some reason. I don't know. It should not take that many steps to just create a list. There you go. So all I did is I made a list with this long line. And then I passed that list over here, and this should does what we want us to do. Let me see. Actually, after that, I have to print it because we're not printing anything. We're only modifying the list. So I have to print the list, and how to print it with the for loop, I guess. For string word in mutable list system dot out dot print word. Okay,
I think for array list, you should be able to just print it directly. It might appear in brackets.
could be. I'm not a Java expert. You might be right. Okay, so there is some error. Let me see what's the error.
It's
Line 53. Oh, I missed the return type. Wait, someone said something I missed maybe. Also, I see in the chat William is pasting the feedback form. Well, no, that's not the feedback form. That's the attendance form. And William, please can you send the feedback form before people leaving, because we need that. But going to the thing. Okay, so not sure what's wrong because it's not okay. It's running still. So there's some error.
I think it's you forgot to import the array list. I think so. Come on.
You might be right. Import java.utils. But how you import it?
You java.util.arraylist, I think, or it's just
Now, if I do start, it imports everything in the utils.
Hmm.
Let me see what they did over here. Okay, I'll just use that then. You might be right.
In line 25, then semicolon. Okay, that's what you
You
showed.
are absolutely right. Okay, so we have to wait until this thing runs. But either way, either it's right or wrong. I'm pretty sure Professor Steinberg gives partial credit. So even if you write like this type of code and there is, maybe some indexing error, or you missed a semicolon, or you missed, like, instead of starting from 0, you started from 1, you're gonna get like at most 1 or 2 points off if it's a 10 mark or 20 mark question. But if your overall architecture or structure of the code is what he was expecting, you're getting like most points out of it. Okay, so I'm not sure why it's not running. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna ask my friend ChatGPT, and I'm gonna say what's wrong here. It should not take that long. Because I have to import arrays. Wait, what's the difference? Oh, okay, I see. So I have to import. Actually, let me just do start. We should import everything. And we're using a different function name. Scrambled word. We're using scrambled. Okay, there you go. And we are. No, we're not printing that. It's a void function. Oh, okay. So why am I printing this, right? It should not be printed. I'm just, changing the stuff. That's why I like ChatGPT. It gave me the answer I was looking for in 2 seconds. Remove print line, okay. Optional is not needed. Okay, now it should work. Okay, a couple things. I was printing here. There you go. I see. So I was printing here. I should not be printing this one because it's not returning stuff. It's a void function. So we're just changing stuff in the mutable list. And once they're changed, that's where I print them with a for loop. And I also use the star because star uses everything inside the util library. And you can see the output is what we expected, right? We were expecting DNA, Barcadabra, and Papel, and that's how we got it. Cool. So the function was working. Only thing was missing was some semicolons and some other small stuff. That's the overall idea. Anybody have any questions so far? So if there's no more question, I don't have any more practice problems or anything that Professor Steinberg gave me. If any of you guys want me to go over something, feel free to open your mic or type in the chat. I'm happy to go over it. Otherwise, William, if you're still there, could you please send the feedback form in the chat so people can fill out the feedback form and we use that to host more sessions in the future?
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I joined a little late, so I'm just like a little confused on which questions did Professor Steinberg give us.
Okay, so these questions, I'm pretty sure he did not give this to the class. He gave it to the tutors. These questions was taken from AP Comp Sci 2024 free response question. These are just practice problems. It's not guaranteed that this question will be an exam, but just for you to practice. He only wanted us to went over the question 1 part and part B. That's what we did. But just to make sure this whole session is recorded. So after the session is done, we are gonna post it in YouTube as soon as possible, so you can watch the recording from start to end if anything doesn't make sense now.
Okay, thank you.
Also, my friend William sent the feedback form, so people who are still here, feel free to fill out the form and see how bad I did, so they can tell me to do even better. But if there's no more questions, so we are going to end here, unless any of you guys want me to go over some other topics or any questions if you guys have.
When
Go
will
ahead.
Sorry. When will the recording be posted?
I cannot guarantee that. So I send the recording to my supervisor and he uploads it to YouTube. I can take today's Monday, right? And the exam is on Thursday, I believe. You can expect it by Tuesday or latest Wednesday morning. But I cannot guarantee because it's not on my hand.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick note with the feedback form. I'm looking now. It says which review session did you attend? And the first one is September 19, and the next one is October 3rd. So for today, it doesn't look like
Okay, so September 19th is the one. Okay, William, correct me if I'm wrong. This is supposed to happen September 19th, right? So yeah, fill out the one in September 19th because it was supposed to happen on the 19th, but we did it on 22nd.
rescheduled. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
If you guys don't have any questions, feel free to leave. I'll stay for 5 more minutes and then I'll close this session.
I think someone asked about which topics would be covered on the first midterm.
Okay, so right.
Your-
So it's if you guys have the syllabus, it should be on there. I don't have the syllabus on my hand, but it's everything up until midterm 1.
All right.
Where can I get a copy of the syllabus? I don't have a copy. And when I search online on the webpage that I was giving at the beginning, I don't have access to anything inside there.
Are you enrolled as a student in the course?
Yes.
That's interesting. Why it is not there? Let me see if I
Okay.
can ask someone. Or should I not? Let me
I think
stop
Professor
searching.
Steinberg put it on the, if I recall correctly, he put it on the Discord server. I mean,
Oh, okay. I don't have access to that.
oh, uh, do you
He- yeah.
do you have Discord by any chance?
I have a Discord server, but I don't have a Discord for this class.
I think we could give you access to it. Let me just double check just to make sure.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh yeah, I have to reinstall it on my. I think I have it on my phone.